Hello and welcome to the Marketing Mix. I am so excited about this one because I get to talk to a fellow email marketer. It's not very often that happens. And today we are going to be talking about how you get yourself out of your email marketing rut, because it's just so easy to keep doing the same things and not getting many results or you want. And we're going to give you a little bit of advice. We're going to tag team, double duo, and give you some advice about how to break some of those habits that have got you into that rut. So I'm joined by Maria. I think originally we met online, and we met for the very first time this year at Atomicon when Maria was very pregnant, but she's just been telling me she's had her baby and she's getting to sleep. So I think she's quite a lucky lady to have such a good baby. Maria, introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you, your business, and why you started it.
Yes, hello everybody. So I 2 months since I had the baby. So here I am trying to think about work, which is quite interesting, refreshing, frankly. But yeah, so I started email marketing within my freelance career, so to say, just I think 2, 3 years ago now. I decided to focus on the email side of marketing because it just made sense to me, and it made sense to me to specialize in one thing as opposed to doing a little bit of everything. Because within email, there's already a little bit of everything. There's
Yes.
already a lot within the one specialty, so to say.
Yeah.
So before my freelance career, I was in the hospitality industry, and I was working in like the corporate side of creating the guest experience journeys in luxury and boutique brands. And I I draw this parallel that so obviously you never really know what's going to happen while it's happening, but it makes sense looking back that I was sort of creating the guest experience in the physical space through all of this sort of physical touch points as well as digital touch points. And within email, it's all kind of similar, and it's just all digital. All the touch points are digital, that you're creating that customer journey, try to guide them through what you want them to do and how you want them to feel and so on. So yeah, that's I think that's how I see it. I think it kind of makes sense a little bit to me. Hopefully,
That's amazing.
it makes sense to other people.
No,
But yeah, and I really love email marketing.
I mean, that's why I asked you on here. It's kindred spirit. I can see that there are some people watching, so we're just going to have a bit of a chat because I never really get to chat to fellow email marketers. But if you have questions, pop them into the comments and we will answer them. But first of all, let's just have a little bit of a chat about why people get into a rut. Because I know it's really easy to like keep doing the same things. So, like, what do you think helps? Makes people get into a rut of the same thing.
I think it's I've always done it that way kind of mindset, but it's also the fear of change because you think that okay, so I've been doing this way, it has been working to an extent, or it makes me comfortable to know what to do. So change is like, oh, what is it gonna look like? Is it gonna work? Is it gonna make people unsubscribe? Is it gonna make me like do more work as opposed to kind of getting used to doing the same thing? And then it's just the standard fear of change as well. But also you get used to doing it. It's easy to do. It gets faster to do it. Say if you do a weekly email, you do it the same way every time. You kind of can optimize it, and then changing that means that you might have to spend more time. You have to do more research. You have to understand which elements may or may not work. Or if you test something, you have to be prepared to fail that it didn't work, and that's also scary. I think it's just okay. I created this newsletter or system that works. I'm going to stick to it. It's just comfortable. I think that's the main reason why.
Yeah, and I think coming back to the point of I've always done it this way. When you're a small business owner, realistically, you are looking for ways to sort of systemize the
Yeah.
things that you do. So it is easy to keep standing out something that is just very quick to put together. And I know I always say like create an email template because it just makes you like put that email together faster because there are some parts of your newsletter that will never change. They'll always be the same. But at the same time, I have a standard template that I use, but I'm not afraid to tweak it to make it look different when I want, like if I'm talking about something where I don't want people to get distracted by anything. Sometimes I take everything, I strip it right back and take all the images, everything out of it. And it kind of looks like it's an email coming from, that I've created in Outlook. That's sort of the way that I format it. And I think that sometimes helps people sort of sit up and take notice. So I would say, as someone who is always in fear of change, I'm one of these people who is like, everything the same. I don't want it to change. I think sometimes change is good.
Exactly, you're absolutely right. But you also have to, you can change within your comfort zone, right? Take small changes. You don't have to like reinvent every time like there's something slightly off and you want to change your email marketing template. It doesn't have to be a completely new template. Maybe test the background, maybe test like the formatting or how many sections you've got, if you've got sections and things. Just test one thing at a time, like just the one thing. Maybe you can send several emails with that one change and see if it makes any difference. Like, no, absolutely have to change everything. Because if you do change like drastically too many times, it can confuse people as well, right? So
and
you
also,
want to
if
make
you're
sure you
testing things, you're never going to know what's working if you change everything all at once. So that's really good advice to sort of change one thing at a time. I think the other thing that maybe gets people into a rut is really not having a strategy for their email marketing, because it's very easy to think. I know people are differentiating between newsletters and email marketing now, but like when you say newsletters, it's kind of a catch-all, and it's very easy to think, well, this is my newsletter and this is all I'm going to write about. But if you've got a bit of a strategy, you can then, mix up the types of emails that you send. So I think, like, what do you think to that? Are you finding that people don't?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in terms of having a strategy that you have. How should I put this? What is that? It's all, it comes down to what you're trying to achieve, right? So if you're trying to achieve information emails, so educational sort of emails, but then also within that email, maybe you want to do a little bit of sales. Maybe you want to do a specific sales email that still can be interesting to read. It doesn't have to be like, just buy the stuff. But sometimes buy my stuff is a great email. Like, you just want to be very clear with people subscribe for a reason. They know you're going to sell them. So it is okay to just let them know, like, actually, let's be simple. I am selling this thing. If you want to buy it, you can buy it, as opposed to, complicating it. But again, if you just don't sit down every time you write an email, like, okay, what do I want to say? That when you don't have a strategy, you're going to be lost every single time. You're going to worry about what it is and how frequent it is and if it's different from the previous and so on. But if you kind of have a little bit of a plan, maybe, okay, so I'm going to talk about this, align it with the rest of your marketing content. Like, if you've got any plans for your social media, there might be a bit of a duplication, which is perfect. And then put that all in, a lot less stressful and a lot less sort of, I'm doing the same thing every time.
And I think it's really easy to fall into that, do the same thing every time when you don't have a plan, because I find that I work exclusively with like really small businesses, and they find it hard because they don't have an idea of what they want to talk about. And if you try and think about that, the minute you sit down to build your email, everything just gets really difficult, because you're forcing yourself to almost be creative. You're trying to force that process. Whereas if you had spent some time, I don't know, away from your desk, maybe you go to a coffee shop and you think, well, what do I want to achieve with my emails? And you let that free flow over cake. You have a bit of cake.
Coffee cake, of course.
And like have that time to really think about what you want your emails to achieve. I think that will stop you from sitting down and thinking, well, I need to get something out, so I'll just write about this. And that's the rut that it's sort of, it's not getting you results, but you know that you
You're
want
just
to.
making things up on the spot. It might work, but you might not know why it worked. You don't really have a reason as to why something worked. And it's this, I think, is like it's similar with social media. If you don't really have a plan or a vision or a strategy or some sort of greater purpose, you're gonna sit down like, I need to post something on LinkedIn today. Okay, what's the thing? And then 3 hours later, you still haven't written it because you're like, oh, I'm coming up with this personal life stories that are potentially relevant to my work, and it becomes too much. And then you just actually either end up writing something really bad or not writing at all, right? So then you end up with no email marketing.
Teresa's just said she likes going away somewhere. It's like the idea of going away from your desk, especially with cake. There's always got to be cake. I mean, come on. Is it life if there's no cake? No,
If
not
you're
for me.
having a coffee, you gotta add something to it, you know?
Absolutely. Coffee's too wet on its own, so it needs something to take that moisture. Um, so let's talk a little bit about habits. And I know the habits that I've created for myself and for my clients, but what can people do to change the habits that they've got now?
I would say kind of just have a look at what it is you're doing first. Obviously, do like an assessment of where you're at, what's working, what's not working. But just seeing, okay, if is your habit that you're sending your email, your Friday email on a Friday morning, and you're writing it on a Friday morning, does it work for you? Is it too stressful? Are you just doing it because you completely forgot and you're too busy the whole week? How can you kind of change that? So, where's the problem really with the habits? I would say sometimes I used to, before I went on a break, I would write my Friday emails on a Thursday, Wednesday. The ideal case was that I wrote it on a Wednesday and I also reviewed it on a Thursday and then scheduled it for Friday. Sometimes I just wrote it on a Friday. But the thing is, you've gotta be realistic about this. Like, if you are sending on a Monday email, maybe you write it the week before, because you are you really gonna sit down on a Sunday and write your Monday newsletter?
No, no.
Most likely not, right? We're not as keen on doing these things. So being realistic within like your work habits, your work life, like how long is it gonna take you? Do you need a bit more time to allocate than kind of be overly pessimistic about how much it takes? Give yourself more time, and kind of yeah. I think it's just overall business habits which are kind of hard to break and create good ones, but
Yeah.
within that, it's you just have to slot the email somewhere. I would say it's not just, oh, I wrote a social media post, let me just copy paste it into email. That won't work in the long term. That will work in the short term, maybe once or twice, but it won't always work.
Mm, mm. And I know I'm a bit of a creature of habit, and I'm one of these people. This really annoys my husband. I'm a complete planner and I'm a complete starter finisher. So for me,
Nice. Good for
I
you.
know it helps. It does help. He hates it though. He's more spontaneous than me, so it's like we've had to kind of meet in the middle somewhere. Um, but I really find what helps me is blocking out time in my calendar that's dedicated to creating my email. Um, it used to be on a Monday morning, but I work with a client all day on Mondays now, so it's moved to Fridays because that's the only time I can find in the week. Um, but it does mean that I sit down and dedicate time to creating it, and because I've got a content plan, it doesn't it pretty much I timed myself once. It takes me 13 minutes to create my email,
That's
which,
awesome.
when you think of it in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
But time has gone into it before by
Yeah.
understanding, well, what I want to achieve, what am I going to talk about, like week by week, what's going to go in those emails.
Yeah. If you wait for inspiration to strike you every time, you're gonna wait a long time.
Yeah, and do you know what I've found? Because I used to be able to sit down and like plan in like I could take an afternoon and sit down and create a plan. But I'm finding now that actually, I think, I don't know if everyone's suffering from this, but like my attention span is not that strong anymore. 2 hours on planning. So now I break it up into smaller pieces. And I always start with sticky notes on my wall, sticky notes. I know, so I can move things around. But yeah, it's it has to be at a time that suits you. Like I've realised over the past week, because I've been working evenings to get a client's project done before I go away, that I am not good at the other end of the day. My energy and my creativity is much more in the mornings. So that's when that stuff has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately kind of, you have to look at everything else that you do within your business, which is this hardest part of running your own business. As you know, everybody's listening now, there's about a million things to do, and you've got to allocate a little slot to every single one of these things. So maybe it is a matter of once a month you take half an hour to look at, okay, what kind of content I want to put in my emails / social media, because you want them to be aligned as well, obviously. And when are you going to write those emails? So are you going to write the social post and then repurpose it into email, or vice versa? Or what kind of communication, like sort of alignment, are there between all the different marketing channels? Is there like a half a day that you can just prep lots of content for the next 3 months? Because maybe those are just informative emails that you're sending out with stuff that's already live. You're just reminding people there's interesting resources available. That stuff you can probably smash out in 1 hour. You can just schedule lots and lots of emails. Just like, here's a brilliant blog post scheduled for 3 months in ahead. Then you've got one email sorted 3 months in advance already, so kind of thinking about that a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, but before I went off on my break, I think I did maybe 15 emails for a client until through the end of the year. I was like, here you go, you're good. We scheduled them, everything. So they don't have to worry about it, because it's the reason why obviously we work together is because they keep forgetting to do email. I'm like, well, I will not let you forget. We will schedule them. They will be going out even if you don't remember them. So that's all done, because the content they already had, the content that's relevant to what they're doing in the time, and like in the beginning of the year. You don't always have to create new stuff. And I think that's one of the things, that one of the reasons we get into a rut as well with email is we think we must create fresh new content every time. Not really. Repeat yourself. We have to repeat ourselves. I know it feels weird to do that, but for the receiver, it's okay. It's normal.
It is, because listen, you have to keep reinforcing your message. People don't buy from seeing a message once. But the second thing is you are the only person who sees all your content all the time. So, get things that have worked really well before, get them out again and use them again, because I can guarantee you that people won't remember that they've received that before.
Yeah. I mean, think about how many emails you get from, like, your beauty brands that you subscribe to. Probably like 2 a day. Sometimes.
I know. It's ridiculous.
And sometimes you still want to receive them. Like, I recently subscribed to Misoma, which is the jewelry brand based in the UK. And I kind of have an intention of buying something at some point. But I think I get an email a day and I'm like, I still like it. Like, I still want to receive them because they remind me of, I don't know why, but I haven't bought it.
Is that you and me, though? Is that you and me? Because like whenever I tell my husband, look at this brand, look how many times they've emailed me this week. He's like, why don't you just unsubscribe? I'm like, no, this is really interesting. What are they trying to do?
I know.
I just don't unsubscribe.
Really Sometimes you've got to. Sometimes you've got to.
You do. You do. Interesting question from Isha. How would you suggest fixing non-marketing emails landing in spam? Isha, maybe you can tell us what non-marketing emails are. Are these the ones that you send from Outlook and Gmail? We'll wait for you to.
What do you mean, like the transactional types of emails?
Maybe. If Isha can give, we can answer that question. Yeah. But this is a question I get asked all the time. Where can you find the stats? Let me give you a secret, Reese. They're in your email marketing software.
Well, the answer is there isn't a best time to send one particular email. There are some, some companies do some research and digging saying that Thursday morning is good for that, Friday evening is good for that. Maybe this particular, if you look at November, November is, Black Friday, all of these
Yeah.
sales stuff.
Yeah.
There's certain weeks that are for different types of activities and so on. That are based on previous data, sure, relevant, but ultimately everything is just relevant for your audience. You have to think about how they behave and what they expect from you. If they know that they would expect you to send them a sales email, for enough say it's Black Friday. Maybe you just send one. Maybe because you're small, you don't have a lot of subscribers, you just send one and that's enough. Maybe you have to send 5. Maybe you just need to kind of test what day of the week that they respond to the most. And there's no right wrong answer. It really you have to look at your data. And which is the next topic we were going to talk about is data, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's always, when you get asked questions like that, it's always like, well, how long's a piece of string? There is no hard and fast answer. And these companies that put out the data that says, like you said, this time is best for this time is best for this, they're talking in really like generic terms, and they're talking across various, industries. And so you can say, for e-commerce businesses, generally it's better on this day at this time, but realistically you need to be looking at what your subscribers are responding to. So let's talk about data, because for me really the data in email marketing is really where the magic happens. It's not creating all those nice fancy emails. They're good. It helps you to be professional. It helps you to look as businesses, but that data is what people should be looking at. So what can they look at in their reports to help them stop repeating past mistakes?
Try to find some sort of trends if you can, if you find any type of trends. So whether you have a format to your type of subject line, is there a format to that you've changed, that changed something, a result in the data, or is there maybe like the sender name that you've changed recently or kind of was updated maybe without your knowledge, because sometimes these things change. Did that impact your sort of open click rates and things? Have a look at overall sort of where that's at. I would always recommend to create an Excel spreadsheet. Because I mean, I love looking at sort of some platforms are really good at showing you the data. Some platforms are less good at showing you the data.
Yeah.
So you might want to create your own spreadsheet and kind of look at the columns individually and compare those particular emails, and just then see ultimately what are you trying to achieve? Where's the goal? You want the clicks, you want the opens. Again, take all the data with a big pinch of salt, a lot of salt. It isn't like accurate. There's no such thing as accurate data. It is an indicator of behavior. They might have opened it, but you might have not been registered that they opened it, or vice versa. So it's kind of just consider that it's not like a black and white type of thing. Look at the data and compare it to what you're trying to achieve. As also, I would ideally recommend to have a goal for each email, and then see kind of where you are against that goal for that email. Did you want people to click to go to the webinar? Are you here today because you clicked on an email that we sent, or was there something? What was it? The goal was to kind of just share information that was valuable, the story that you share. Because in that case, clicks don't really mean anything because that wasn't the goal. Like the clicks mean that maybe they click, which is nice, but that wasn't what you're trying to achieve. I think that's kind of a place to start, really. There's you gotta there's no magic data point that I would look at. Maybe click-through rates.
And I think for me, it's kind of, I know, like when I send an email that's got an image in it, when I look at my report and I look at the heat map of where people clicked. Quite often they've clicked like 100% of the time on that image. I only ever really talk about one thing in my emails. So they clicked on that image. So that, for me, before I was really looking at that data, I wasn't really optimizing my images as much as I could have done. And now, if I include an image, I make sure that if people don't have time to read the email, if they look at that image, they've got every bit of information that they need and they can click on it. Yeah. So I'd kind of got into a rut of including an image because it looked nice, and it helped people who are more visual people to see what was in that email. But actually, looking at the reports, it's like, wow, everyone who clicks is clicking on that image. I need to make that work harder for me. So I think things like that can help you to interpret whether your email's successful. And then you can do things like tweak your template to help you to get more clicks when you include that call to action. But I think if you're not looking at the data, if you're sending out emails and you're not looking at the reports and understanding what's happening, maybe not every single time like us, because that's what we do. But at least once a month, have a look and see what's happening and whether you can spot any patterns that help you to fix things that you're thinking, I don't know how to fix this. I honestly think that the answer is in your data.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that thing about pictures, actually. It's just a weird psychological thing we have. Like we feel safe clicking on a picture as opposed to clicking on a button, even though they literally links are exactly the same. It's just a weird thing that we've got in our head. So definitely a good tip. Always make sure if you have a CTA, make sure the CTA of the image goes to that place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Gosh, we're running out of time. I have popped a link into the comments to Maria's newsletter. I am absolutely sure it is full of a ton of value. I'm probably going to sign up for it myself because I like to learn.
I am still on a break, so I will be back shortly. So if you sign up now, I won't be receiving weekly emails yet, but once I'm back, there will be.
There we go. So maybe in the new year, you'll start getting some really good
I might have a whole new brand strategy. Who knows?
There you go. So do sign up for emails. I was just going to quickly tell you about my online course. So I've got an email marketing course to help small businesses launch their own newsletter. So if you're thinking I haven't got a newsletter and I want to do it, this is the course for you. So take a look at that. See what you think. It's you've got lifetime access, so you can come back to it whenever you like. And in 2 weeks' time, back by popular demand, I'm going to be joined by the lovely Ella Orr, and we're going to talk about personal brand again. So we talked about personal brand earlier this year. It was a really popular session. And this time we're going to talk about how to inject your personality into your personal brand. So there's a link in the chat there for you to set a reminder. That just leaves me to say thank you so much to Maria. I'm sure we could have carried this on for another hour.
100%. I'm sure we should get back together when you're from holiday.
Yes.
And we'll talk all about email. Over coffee and cake.
But we'll definitely repeat this. And if you have a subject that you want Maria and I to cover, we can do that again as a duo. Pop me an email or DM me on LinkedIn. Let Maria know. She'll let me know. And at some point next month, I'm going to be planning for next year. So send your suggestions in, and I'm sure we can make that happen. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Take care.
Bye.